Welcome, Steve, to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. How you doing tonight, man?
Good to see you, man. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, big fan. So I want to go over what's going on with you guys now, but we'll get a little history so if new people watching can kind of get a taste of what was going on prior. Um, let's start early. Probably
Wow.
your first album, or actually, let's start. What
Let's
got
go
you?
way back. We'll
let-
go way back. We'll
Let's
go
go way
back to
back.
when I was 6 years old.
You're 6 years old. What got you into
couple,
music? Actually, yeah. Actually, what got you
couple
going?
of centuries ago, right? And I'll tell you why I'm doing that because when I was 6 years old for my birthday, I remember walking outside in the backyard, and there was a. It wasn't a rectangular cardboard box. It was like what is it, a rhombus or whatever, and it was a cardboard box with a guitar in it, right?
Hmm.
I thought about that, gosh, I didn't even thought about music at that point. And it was my birthday present from my folks, and so they immediately put me into guitar lessons at school. First grade, it was first grade, and a few months into it, I remember the guy's name was Mr. Spano. I can even picture him in my head, if you can imagine that. And I remember him coming up to my mom when she picked me up from lessons, and he said, and I hate saying stuff like this because it makes me feel a little weird, but he said, I haven't seen anybody play like that and have the 6 years old have the talent for it. Now, I tell people all the time, look, I can't cook, I can't fix a car. I have lots of things I am no good at. I was blessed with talent to play guitar, so
Right.
it was a blessing. It was a talent. So
Yeah.
at that point, at 6 years old, I'm like, you know what? Wow, this is pretty cool. He said, you've got to get him in private lessons. So I liked it. That's the good part. I liked playing the guitar, and I knew that. Okay, I guess I. He said I'm good. I must be okay at it. I was into sports in school, right? So I immediately went into classical and flamenco guitar, took private lessons, and that's what I did for 10 years. And the reason that was important to me because this past week I was messing around on YouTube and I found video of this classical guitar player doing Bach's Ave Maria.
Mhm.
And I picked my guitar up and I just started learning it from watching him play. And I said, oh my God, I have completely forgotten about how amazing and how beautiful the classical guitar is. And that was what all I did. I mean, I played lots of talent shows playing Malagueña. And I mean, I spent probably a year, it was like an ongoing piece to learn how to play that. And I learned Jose Feliciano's version of it. And, and at that time, I had the book with the music in it. I could read at the time. And then I had the LP. So you know how hard it is
You
to
the whole
learn a
thing, huh?
song, and when you're a little kid and you're learning a piece and you have to go back and hear it again. You got to pick the needle up and move it
I
over
couldn't
and
even
over.
do that. I couldn't even do that. I had a crappy steel acoustic. It was hurt my hand so bad. I'm like, I just threw out the window. And
And
it's
that's what a lot
and
of
I
kids
sang
that
in a rock
start
band
off.
for a while, and then now because of YouTube, now I play guitar because of YouTube. I can visually take my time.
Yeah, you can watch people over and over again, and sometimes you can even maneuver it so it
I
goes
can't play.
back.
I can't play by ear. My daughter can. She can pick up stuff
Oh,
by ear. I can't. I'm like, I gotta see it. I gotta get paper. I got you.
yeah,
I need fireworks. Yeah.
exactly. So that renewed my interest, and I'm like, I've really gotten away from the beauty of classical and flamenco guitar. So I just got a new classical. Well, I bought a 50-year-old classical guitar
Not new old.
this week. It's one that was made in Spain like 45, 50 years ago. And it's funny because a friend of mine had it. He goes, man, I'll sell it to you because I don't play it anymore. And so I got it, and I started to put strings on it.
Oh,
And the tuning pegs were so old that the first one snapped in half and cut my finger. So
oh.
like, I'm gonna have to redo this whole thing. But
There's a whole
so that's
history
how I
with it.
started off, was classical and flamenco guitar until I was like in high school. And then the friend of mine, he was like the local stoner guy, really nice kid. Um, but he had a Les Paul, and he was playing the Heartbreaker solo at 15. And I'm like, well, that's cool, man. But it didn't relate to me soloing and lead guitar playing. Mine was all about finger picking and the guitar.
Were you listening to rock at that point, though?
What's that?
Were you listening to rock while you're doing that? Were you starting to get
You
into
know,
rock? Or?
I got it. I actually started getting into pop music. I say pop, not pop, like singer-songwriter stuff.
Yeah.
Like when I was 11 and 12, I remember the top 72 of 1972. Don McLean's American Pie was the #1 song. Nilsson's Without You was #2. All the best songs and songwriters were in the 70s. In the early 70s, there was everything like Terry Jacks, Season in the Sun, and Bread, Baby I'm a Want, all those songs that really, along with the classical training, made me start to get into songwriting and the beauty of songwriting. And like, that's what sticks is the great song. Okay. It's not like how great my guitar playing is or how great this singer is. It's the essence and uniqueness and beauty of that piece. That's what's going to last forever. So I started to realize that songwriting was really such an important element in leaving your mark, which is what I wanted to do. So that's what I really started listening to that. Then I got into Alice Cooper, and I got into Alice Cooper because I was watching In Concert on TV. I used to have this show called In Concert. It was like Midnight Special was another one. And I saw Rush on there when they first came out, and Alice Cooper and Zeppelin, and it was fantastic. And I saw Alice Cooper on live. He did 4 songs live, and they showed the Elected videos right when $1 Billion Babies came out. And that's what I want to do, because the way that his band, the songs he wrote, it wasn't just hard rock guitar. It was hard rock with this class. They probably didn't even realize the classical influence in the melodies of what they wrote. And that's what I wanted to do. So I remember my dad gave me School's Out album when it came out, and it was on vinyl, obviously. And he pulled it out and had a pair of women's panties wrapped around vinyl. And, needless to say, Mom wasn't totally thrilled. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was like some cool hat or something, I didn't know. I was 11. What did I know? I didn't care. And so we had in the kitchen, we had speakers up in the ceiling and a turntable in the living room. So if you played something in there, it came out in the kitchen. And that was the only way I could listen. So Mom's doing kitchen work and all this, and I had Schools Out and Black Sabbath, Paranoid. And that's where I started to just sit there with my electric guitar. I had the crappiest $60 electric guitar when I first bought one from Service Merchandise. And I sat in there and the strings wouldn't stay in tune. And I didn't care. And I just learned Paranoid and War Pigs and all the songs. And then I forced myself, because I knew how to read and I knew how to play. And none of these other guys knew how to do what I did, but I didn't know how to do what they did. So I just started learning. And all of a sudden it just clicked. And like, I started the guitar club at school and got in my first cover band when I was a senior in high school. And all of a sudden I realized that all that training, it made sense. Once I understood the positions on the neck and all the different, how all the positions of just blended into one, it was one continuous stream. And all I had to do was just play and play and play. It all clicked. And then the ear came and I started learning everything. And that's why I developed my ear. And that's why I tell people to go learn everything. I can listen to any song and I'll tell you how to play it if I don't have a guitar in front of me, because I listen so much and I can hear, I can hear a chord and instantly, just because of the fingering and the position of the notes, where it's played, if it's detuned, if it's this or that. And that was all due to just learning every song on every album I had. And that's what I would recommend to new players. Even if it's something you don't really like, go learn it. And that's what I did. And then it was getting in cover bands and playing everywhere and anywhere I could. And then in '83, I was in a band called Oz with Mike Max, our bass player, original bass player. And he's been in the band now for several years now, back with me. And we just started playing, and we were playing everything from Thin Lizzy to Sabbath, to Styx to Aerosmith, all the stuff we grew up with. And then that was it. Then we had a manager who tried to steal our name, so we changed the name to Lillian Axe. We had a revamping of the lineup, and then we hit it. And then 4 years later, we got our first record deal with MCA. So that, in a nutshell, is how we got started.
Is it true how you got the name? Is it like from a Creep Show or something?
Yeah, I'd seen Creep Show, the first one. And right at the beginning, there's a scene where there's a skeleton. It's like a bridesmaid skeleton in the kid's window. And I don't know. It's just that the thing, because I've always been into horror and the supernatural and what we don't know about.
Mhm.
And so when I saw that, it was just kind of the epitome. It just made me think of, I don't want a crazy old lady name, just kind of senile, tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. And I remember leaving the movie and going over to the singer at the time's house, and right at I can tell you the corner of the street I was at, and just the name Lillian sounded senile. I was like, Lillian Axe. That's it. And I remember knocking on the guy's door, and I said, hey, the guy's singer at the time, his name was Rick. I said, Rick, the band's going to be called Lillian Axe. Hope you like it. And we actually do. That's cool. And that was it. It was very spontaneous.
Very cool.
And then from there, it's just like, club after club after club. And the scene down here at that time was so flourishing, man. You could play a different venue. Look, there were clubs that were, you're talking about like Tuesday through Sunday, there was live music. You could play in a rock band like us where, we were kind of doing stuff that nobody else was doing. The only other band that was having success,
Mhm.
but they were doing different kind of stuff down here was Zebra. But they were doing like Zeppelin and Moody Blues and stuff like that. So it was different. We were doing, Judas Priest and Van Halen and Black Sabbath and stuff like that. And we were, starting to introduce the whole, our version of the whole
Were you
early.
sneaking in originals at that point too?
Yes. I told everybody, I said, it's the only way we can do this. It became towards the end when we got signed, like 3/4 originals with our, favorite covers. But
Yeah.
at first, pretty much about half and half. And that's when I just started, just dishing it out, writing and learning, and learning. And I treated songwriting like something that needed to be practiced as well. And I don't mean practice like sitting down and forcing myself to write songs. I needed to practice on paying attention to what inspired me, paying attention to the things that I thought that it moved me, because I always have felt like we're all different. Every individual has a different set of life circumstances and whatnot, but basic emotional impulses are the same I think for everybody. We all, see something sad and we react, whether we cry or we hurt on the inside. Sadness is a universal feeling. Happiness is a universal. We just all have different ways that we show it and different ways that we feel it. But I always kind of felt like I need to have to, the emotion I feel when I write a song, I've got to be able to portray that, and I've got to emit that to the other person that they feel like I do. How do I do that? Well, I can read poetry all day long, and it's poetry's great, but it's one dimensional. Music by itself is great. It's one dimensional. If I can combine the two, and which is one reason why I love movie soundtracks, because it's not words, but it's actually visual with music, and why it's so powerful. If I can make those things work together, and I'll maybe make people feel the same way I do about that emotion that I'm writing about. And so that was the practice, was just write a lot and listen to it and live with it and see, hey, I thought it was a great song now, but in 3 or 4 weeks, I listen back to it. I still feel the same way that I did when I wrote it. And many songs work. They passed the test with me, the litmus test, and some of them didn't. And I'll go back to them years later and take little pieces that I liked out of them. So that was the important thing. Like I said, I can't stress enough. If you want to be a songwriter, just open up your head, listen to everything, pay attention to yourself, pay attention to other people too, because it is probably the most important aspect of being a musician to me personally, even more so than the guitar playing.
Yeah. I do think the song is probably the strongest part. I mean, it means the most. It's going to remember it the most. Although a good guitar lead underneath something really kind of helps carry it.
Oh, absolutely. And let me tell you, I've always tried to do this. It's been of major importance that, and I think if you listen to a lot of my solos, there are things that you could sing, like I always wanted to be able to sing. That doesn't mean I don't go off if it calls for just just your riffing kind of thing, but I can always sing my solos. And that's why Brian May from Queen was always like my top guitar player, because every solo we did, whether it was one note or 100 notes, I could sing them all, and they were
Yep.
just as important. And then I would listen to some guitar players that even though they were great, I was like, I want to get back to the vocals, like the solo was just like
Yeah.
an opportunity to fill some time. Now, I don't mean that in an ugly way. Maybe that it worked out, but for me personally, I felt that what interested me was a solo that was just as important as the vocal line was,
Mhm.
and not having it be something that was just a filler for the song for 45 seconds so we can,
Well, I think yeah, character trumps the scale,
absolutely
playing the scales.
right.
There are some great people that do it, but I
Yep.
can't listen to their whole album. I mean, they're probably the best guitarist, but I can't sit down and listen to the whole album.
Yeah. And that's some people, like some people like enjoy that. I mean, people go to a Grateful Dead concert. You know what I'm saying? They just
Yep.
enjoy that 10 hours of what it is, each to his
Yep.
own.
The
But I
jam.
knew me personally, for me to be happy with what I was creating,
Mhm.
I had to make those sections where people wanted to be able to. I don't want to just fast forward over the solo, you know what I'm saying? So that was as important to me as the actual vocal itself, which to me, I know people are going to say, what? But the vocal is to me the most important part of every song.
Well, I think I get it. I mean, I know everyone has an album at a certain time, and for me, probably your most popular album got me the most because that was the perfect time for me and the age. You know what I'm saying? I just go
Right.
on and listen to the other albums, and they're good. I like them, but the age I was at and the power of like Love and War, and then like the sounds of Ghost of Winter, and then like
Right.
on top, it just like I can still hum the melodies to it. I mean, I still listen to it. It is as you say that it does feel kind of like a soundtrack.
Yeah.
I never really got that because it felt like it was when you put it on. I don't think I ever listened to like one song. I didn't do a show a little love. You were I was invested in from the beginning to the end. It was a piece.
I've thought every album has been that for, uh, some people say, they do conceptual albums. To me, it was like everyone was a book with different chapters, right? And I spent lots of time organizing um, the arrangement of the track listing in order, the order of the listing, because I always thought that was important. And I didn't look at it as side A and B when vinyl was there, right?
Right.
I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it like I wanted this to be everything was like a movie or a book that what not necessarily topically, there's going from all's fair in love and war to she likes it on top. That's not necessarily topically um, transition from one to the other because every song was different topics. But sonically, rhythmically, and flow wise, I wanted you to put the first song and felt like you were kind of riding a wave. We're coming up, we're going to go this, and I'm not going to put 3 or 4 songs that are, very uh, congruous next to each other that are going to be like one blend into one big song. I wanted this thing to have peaks and valleys and highs and lows um, as far as the overall feel. So at the end of it, I feel like, wow, take a deep breath. That was good. Now, the new album that we're working on right now is called From Womb to Tomb, and it is conceptual. So I'm actually kind of writing and recording it in order as it comes because it is kind of a soundtrack to my life, not necessarily about specific incidents, but specific lessons and emotions and things that I've gone through from birth all the way up to what's going to happen to me when I pass away. But all the same things, like I was saying earlier, all the same emotions and spiritual things that happen to each one of us, I think, are relatively the same. They're all different, but you're born, you learn about life, you learn about family, then you go to school, and then you learn about relationships, and then you do this, and then you grow up. Those just kind of along those lines where I think everybody will be able to relate to it. But I'm writing it in order of like a timeline of my life. Every other record I've thought of as almost musically conceptual.
Is it going to be
This
similar though, in the same type of music vein though?
What's
Because
that now?
is it going to be like similar, like musically though, or is it going to be more dramatic or more still rock record still?
I think it's gonna be, you know, I even the like the opening song is it's called Breathe, and it's actually it starts off with the an actual recording of and the unborn baby's heartbeat, and then the baby boom bursts into reality, into life. The second song is called I'm Beyond, and it's a heavy song, but there's keyboards, there's big vocals, massive guitar.
So it's
Um, it's still rocks,
really,
but like a whole album of Ghost of Winter, World Stop Turning.
and here's the thing. I mean, and you step back, like, so of course that was that album, and then the self-titled one, and then Poetic Justice, and I'm horrible like remembering at a certain point. Then you get older, become a grown up, and like my cassettes are gone, and then I've got my vinyl back. But there's a
Right.
point where like with iTunes, also like I saw like all these, I'm like, oh my god, look at all this Lillian Axe. Next thing you know, no, was it Night at the Temple or Live Temple?
Yeah, one night in
Fantastic,
the acoustic.
fantastic.
Right.
And I started listening to the other albums. I'm like, man, they're just as strong too. It just at this point in my life, it doesn't resonate like 24 hours a day listening to the same album.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you see the
So
last.
but musically, it's just as strong. It's just as it's the melodies there with the guitar. It's
I think honestly, I think this is going to be, and I say this every record, but there's something different and magical about this one, and something epic. I'm almost like it's kind of a thing. It's weird, and I don't mean this in a cryptic way, but it's like this album's got to be the one that if something happened to me when if I pass away and
you walk away with from it.
after it happens, I know I will have created what I set out to, like something that's going to be really hard for me to ever create.
Your Sergeant Pepper or your
Speak. I mean, I hope I have
not
another two records
yeah.
in me, to be honest with you, but it just like um the last track on the record, which is going to be about ascension into heaven, is when I listen to just the raw basic tracks of it, and every time I do it, I tear up. And that's me coming from just because I'm like, God, please let this thing come out and be recorded the way I'm hearing it in my head. And that's how I'm handling. That's why it's going slow, because I want every nuance of every song to be just the absolute epitome of everything I've ever learned or tried to do in my life. So, and it's working out so far.
Yeah.
We have 3 tracks fully recorded. We're going to do 2 more and second week in January. It's probably going to be a 14, 15 song record. It's got lots of little musical pieces in between the songs. It's kind of like, I guess, for lack of a better thing, like The Wall, you know. That's not going to be a double record. It's just going to be a long record, but lots of stuff. And I just, when people ask, how do I describe it in one word? I just say epic. That's all I can say is I love the big emotional transitions like Ghost of Winter and uh, like World Stop Turning and songs like The Promised Land and See You Someday and things like that. But at the same token, it's very heavy record, heavy guitars, big guitars. I told him, I said, you know, some bands like to go, man, we're going to keep it raw. I'm going to keep it, you know, basic, and we're going to strip it down. And that's good. It works for some bands. For me, I want the record to sound like Angels recorded it, you know. Want that, and one of the things, one of the bands that made me understand that was Queen. You know, when you listen to the first few records, they're just ungodly. I mean, Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen. I mean, these are things that were, you listen to those now, I don't think people even realize what Queen was doing in the first 5 or 6.
And I agree with you.
Unbelievable. But you know what? You listen to Ogre Battle and it's like heavy, and there's this production, it's insane, and these vocals, and you go watch them do it live, and it's like, oh my God, all that stuff, they still brought that power and that feel, even live with 3 guys playing everything that was probably overdubbed 1,000 times. And I remember
Barely anybody even got them back then. That was a thing.
oh yeah, that's like my favorite stuff. I remember I had that discussion with Leif, who engineered Poetic Justice and Psycho, and I was like, you know, are we cool with just because I want to make these, I want these productions big, you know? He goes, look, you don't have to replicate every little sound live. You just have to do great versions of your own songs when you play live, and that resonated with me. I'm like, you're right. I don't have to. If I have 5-part harmonies here, we don't have 5 singers in the band. We'll do 2 or 3 part, and they're going to be good, and it's going to
Right.
sound great. But I want the record to sound like 1,000 angels came down and recorded. I want that thing every time you put it on, your soul moves, you know? And so that's kind of, I've always felt like that. To be honest with you, the only thing that's ever kept me from getting anything any better has been just like timelines and finances and, budgets, and records got to be done at this time. You got to
Yeah.
get this done.
Actually, good question there. That's actually so. A lot of the bands from the 80s and 90s, whatever, are still putting out albums, and there are a lot of really good music that way better than what's going on.
Right.
What I'm saying?
Yep.
Everyone, a lot of that genre, even from the 70s, they're still going. A lot, I can say 70s, 80s, and 90s rock bands, all putting out albums, and they're all pretty strong overall.
Right.
But with record labels gone and the shuffle, I mean, I know some labels have been pretty good. Like I know Frontier has saved a bunch of bands and putting stuff
Right.
out. You guys have gotten shuffled a few times. How's that landscape to balance getting an album and playing, and you know what I'm saying? How do you navigate that now?
Well, I've actually had 8 record deals. Okay, 8
All right, now
different.
you're bragging. No,
No, I'm not. I wish
no,
it was
I'm
more.
joking.
8 there, But Irving Azoff signed us to MCA, right?
Yeah,
As soon as we got there, he went and formed Giant Records and disappeared. And we're doing our records. We're trying to make this thing happen. The radio guys going, "Show a Little Love's gonna be the biggest hit in the world," and this and that. And we're like, okay, but when where's our tour support? Why aren't you putting us on a good tour? Why
yep,
are you telling us to jump from here to here? Why are we, you know, why are you guys telling us to go do another record instead of continuing on with this? And we're willing to go out there, 11 months out of a year and tour and tour. The whole scene has changed so much. In the 70s, record companies would have a couple of bands on their label, and that's what they believed in, and they just gave it all to that, right?
who else
Then
was
it
at
became,
MCA? I'm sorry, who else was at MCA back then with you? There wasn't like a lot of rock bands, wasn't there? And back then, wasn't it like
well, you
uh
know what they called MCA, right? That was our first Music Cemeteries of America. When we were on there, they had Cold Sweat, Elton John, Alice Cooper,
Spread Eagle? I think was on that, right?
Sweet FA, who?
Yep. Was it Spread Eagle? Were they on it
Spread
too? I'm trying to
Eagle.
think.
Yeah. Look, we toured with Alice Cooper a few times, and Alice Cooper told me that when he was on MCA, I think Irving Azoff himself told him that he did not ever want to see Alice Cooper again, something to that effect. Like they didn't even believe in Alice at that time, and it was just they called it Music Cemeteries of America because all they did was sign a bunch of bands and threw it on the wall and hope something stuck. But if you don't put any glue on it, it ain't gonna stick. And they did nothing for us. And so that's where we were fortunate to get picked up by Grand Slam IRS, which was under the SEMA umbrella.
Yeah.
And it got better, but it's
Was that after
still,
MCA? That was like right, like after your
yeah,
third or fourth
2
album with
albums. Yeah, we
Poetic.
did the first 2 albums, and then we got signed to this label, and then Poetic Justice was doing great.
Yeah, it
Right?
was a good
I
album.
mean, we were on the back page of R&R, and we were on Muzak. The guys in Pantera heard us in Taco Bell, and while they were getting tacos, and so it's like it. But we didn't do a video for it, and it was a hit. It was a top 40 hit, and we didn't do a video. They go, we're gonna go and do a let's release No Matter What, which is a cover song, and do a video.
Right.
I'm like, why are you guys doing this? And then we're going to release See You Someday, but only to CHR radio. And then we're going to do this. It's like nobody had a clue. They should have got us on a good tour. They should have kept pushing what was working. But the second, like it was climbing up the charts, and it would get up to like number 36. But if it dropped to number 37, oh, it's over with. It's like,
I didn't see as much of you guys back then. Like from my end as a fan, and those are my
right,
years, like in the magazines and going to school. I told you, as you said earlier, the video, the hard and heavy,
yeah,
then a handful of your videos on MTV. Very once in a while, hear about a tour in a magazine that you tour, and
right,
I don't even think I ever really came around where I was at the time. because I don't think you were really out there as much. And then I remember the Poetic Justice, the in some of the big in the music mags, the big
Right.
old album cover with the axe and the old
Right.
lady. That was everywhere. And then yeah, I remember that single, but that's when I feel like the presence was not as strong, and that's where you kind of feel like
No, we never look. One thing I can say about my career, I've never had the big machine. Never had the management. Marshall Burrow managed the band for the first two records. And I guarantee you, I don't think he ever even spoke to the other guys in the band, except for maybe a couple of times. He just, I don't know what was the purpose. He got us our deal, and he was there when it was like, I don't know if it was a way to him to make a little money on this. I have no idea, because the guy just completely dropped the ball.
he's done
Everybody,
that. Every band. Read Ted Teltman's book.
oh yeah, it's the same
That's
story for
it.
everybody.
That's what he does. That's literally what he's done to everybody. I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, that's all you hear
Well,
about.
look, then we had different management, and manager forgot to register all of the songs with ASCAP. So I am probably owed $1 million in capital royalties from writing songs for the first four records. I mean, it's pathetic when I think about it. But then it's like you hear that story from everybody. Not that it
Yeah.
makes it more comforting, but then I can sit back and go, you know what? There's nothing I can do to change it. I can just get better and smarter. But you know what? They cannot take away what I've accomplished. They can't take away the people that we've been able to reach. They can't take away every record sale. They can't take away.
No, you're still recording right now. We're talking. You're still
Right.
relevant. You're a musician. That's what you do for a living. You're not a coal miner. You're not taking a canary to work every day and going down. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got a
Exactly.
guitar, man. We're listening to it. So that's
So
success.
you kind of when you get older, you put these things in perspective. I'm still alive. I'm still healthy, and I'm fortunate to be here. And so all that other stuff, maybe God had it in his plan that if I had been gotten all the breaks, look at some of the people that have been massively wealthy. I don't know a whole lot of massively wealthy, successful people that aren't messed up in certain ways, to be honest with you.
No,
And I think,
yeah.
I think it's true. Money changes everything, and people, human beings, are not built to be able to handle wealth and fame. We're just not. If it changes everybody, and only a few are able to stay grounded. And even the ones that are grounded will tell you horror stories about how it's been. But I'm just blessed. I just wish that we had been able to. I just want to reach more people. I wish we'd been able to tour more, reach more people, and not have breaks, and not have I just like to go out, play, tour, do records, and keep it going on. So, but we've had 13 releases and getting ready to put out 14th. So, I just, it's a rough thing. You know how bad it's changed out there. I mean, it's virtually, the record business virtually non-existent. When I remember when Aerosmith, they put a record out 10 years ago, 11 years ago, the last studio record.
Just
And
press play.
yeah. And it was whatever the last one was. And it was like, I remember hearing first week out,
Yeah, and that was
sold
it.
1,000 units or something. I'm like, we did that. I mean, this is Aerosmith. And this was right when things started to,
And then the album vanished too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're thinking to yourself, my God, in the 80s, a band like Aerosmith would sell 900,000 records the first week. It's not like that anymore, man.
But
So
if you get a hold of your own management or your own stuff right nowadays, you could still make more than you would have
you
making
make
a multi-platinum album by selling a tenth of it if you own your own stuff, because the label's
right.
95% of your stuff anyhow.
See, our first few records are all tangled up because I don't even know who. I think, oh God, who is it? Universal owns one of the labels of the first two records, and somebody else owns. And I see, look, let me tell you something. I've got a podcast, and it's on my Facebook page. And when we download it to YouTube, I get warnings from YouTube that I'm not supposed to use my own songs because somebody's
Are you
supposed
serious?
somebody owns the rights to it. I'm like, that's my damn song,
Are
man.
you doing? Are you is it the album version, or are you actually playing acoustic? I tried to actually watch it,
No,
and
no.
it was
Record
actually not working. It was not working. Facebook said, "Oh, we're working on it." I couldn't actually watch one of your podcasts. I was trying to watch one recently, and it wouldn't let me.
on Facebook.
Yeah, it was
Have you
spinning. It wasn't
gone
working. Yeah,
on the page?
I went off of just regular. Yeah, your page directly watched it.
Try
It
going
was like your
to
last one.
YouTube. Go to
Yeah.
YouTube, The
Right.
Love and War Show, and
Yep.
all 39 episodes are on
Are in
there.
there.
Yeah, but
I'll try to watch.
they'll if we
That's
play a
crazy.
song like from my own now, like sometimes we'll put in like a Kenny Rogers song or something,
Yeah.
and you get flagged, right? But my own damn song that that I've owed money on, and they're gonna give me something like you shouldn't be playing,
That
you're
is
not,
hilarious.
you don't own the rights. I said, we just do it anyway.
That is so funny. Yeah.
You got
I
to
gotta be
go and
careful. I can't do any music on this show. The only thing I'll have somebody play. They're gonna play their own stuff independently that they
right.
own, that they put out on their own acoustically. That's the only thing I'll put in live music on my show.
Wow.
Or the opening piece, the small instrumental, is
Right.
I did myself. That no one else will
Oh,
say it's
okay.
there
All
because
right.
I do not want the machine going after me for
Well, you
that
see, I can
reason.
do it with the other records. Everything after Psycho Schizophrenia,
Yeah,
all the other ones that it's all right because I own the rights to
that
that.
is so funny though.
Yeah, I know. What are you
They
gonna do?
don't even know what they're gonna do. So that's really
Yeah,
cool. So let's go back to some of you've had a couple changes in your lineup.
a few.
So looking at it, I don't know, you had like a small army, 30,
Right.
30, 40 people. No, you probably had a good 20 people from the
Yeah,
very beginning, which,
probably.
I mean, the band's been together for since 83, 80,
Ooh,
been a long time. Been a long
yeah,
time.
with 35 years,
So, I
36.
mean, if you work at a job for 36 years, you're going to go through some people.
Absolutely. I
So
mean,
it's not
most
like,
people get married 4 or 5 times in 36
that's
years,
right.
right? So, I mean, there you go. So,
That is true.
and the funny part about it is that it's never been like a fight. You hear about these bands
Mhm.
and they got massive fights about stuff, and then boom, you're gonna fight, you're out, kick you out, or whatever. It's never been like that. It's been just people changing what they wanted to do with
Yep.
their life. A lot of times it was out of frustration with the business. People not wanting to tour anymore, not wanting to be away from home, not wanting to uh, go through this crap anymore.
Like imagine if you're touring and you're not making the money where you can go home and be like to your wife or your kids, so you're like, this is a nice house.
Exactly.
This is it. They're like, no, we're living in the same crappy situation and you're gone.
Right.
So
Exactly. So, and
stay
it
going,
changed.
Rockstar.
People wanted to go do their own projects where they would, uh, be in full control of doing what they want to do, which I always encourage. Look, I don't want anybody to stay in the band unless they were happy,
Mhm.
unless it was never about, arguing or anything like that. It was just about life goals.
But you did get
And,
the band name early on, though. You copyrighted, which is smart. So it will always be your band,
absolutely. Yeah.
which is
So,
something that a lot of bands are having disputes about. You will not have to deal with that one headache of two Lillian Axes out there.
right.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Right.
So that's at
So,
least a plus that you got
but
in
it's been,
hindsight.
no problems. No, like I mean, I don't necessarily stay in touch with all the different guys. I see a few of them here now and then, but like Michael Max, the original bass player, he's back in the band, and he was the one I started the band with. So we do have a new lead singer. It's our fourth singer. But it's like when you look at it, each singer's been in the band for over 10 years, basically. So, it's a long history, man.
Didn't
Uh,
Ron leave and come back for a while?
well, no, what happened is in like 95, 96, after Psycho,
Mhm.
and after we were just burnt out and fed up and getting screwed over every which way but loose, um, we decided, I was actually writing songs, and that were, um, more of a progression, just like from Poetic Justice to Psycho. The next progression, a lot of songs that would be on Waters Rising, you know, um, it just seemed like we're kind of spreading apart a little bit,
Yeah.
stylistically. A couple of the other guys wanted to be the next Stone Temple Pilots, and I don't write. That's not me. I write like this.
That was a hard
Um,
time because you couldn't
so
if you stayed the same, you weren't going to get it. But if you
exactly.
changed and you tried being something you weren't, it wasn't going to work
Sure.
because that's not really who you were. So it was really a no-win situation at that
Yeah,
point for a lot
damned
of
if you do,
bands.
you don't. So
Right.
I just stayed true to myself. What do I want? What do I like? I wrote lots and lots of songs. I got a huge catalog of songs that never seen the light of day. I've even brought some of them back because I go back and listen to them, and they just didn't make the record because we didn't have enough space, or it didn't fit the rest of the theme at the time, or whatever. It just, for whatever reasons, it didn't make the record. But they were just as quality as everything else. So, but anyway, so that's kind of what happened. We took a break, and I started a band called Near Life Experience that I had no boundaries on. My brother Craig played drums. Craig was the drummer for Black Label Society for about 10, 11 years.
Oh, wow.
And Sam, who's the rhythm guitar player, Lillian Axe, he played guitar in it. And had another bass player, couple of different bass players. But we spent like 5 or 6 years playing, and it was like starting over. Because the Lillian fans, you know, they wanted to hear Misery and True Believer, and we were playing Day of Silver Sun and The Last Days of the Martyr, these big, like heavy, dark things. And I was doing lead vocals. And I mean, we'd come out, we had candelabras and mannequins hanging and smoke and ice. And it was a different thing, but we were heavy, but it was really good. And the songs were just like, I mean, there are people out there right now that are diehard Near Life Experience fans that don't like Lillian Axe music. I mean, they were like that. And like some Lillian Axe fans that just didn't like Near Life because you're not playing Diane.
I'll have to check out. Is there anything out there on YouTube, like concerts?
Yes, there is. There's a few things. And I'll try to find some, gosh, it's so hard for me to even get some copies. I might have some copies. We did 2 records on our own. And I think they were way ahead of that time right there. But you know, so I did that, and then it was like the just, I think I was a little bit just, I don't know, I kind of felt like I was being like I don't know, not treated very well by some of the other guys, you know, like, hey, we got this far, we're doing well right now. All of a sudden, you guys are like, well, I want to do this, and I want to write this, and I want to do that. And I'm like, you know, hey, let's don't cut our nose off to spite our face. Let's, you know, every team, you know, Drew Brees isn't going to be a linebacker. He's a quarterback for a reason, and vice versa. Everybody has a place that makes, you got to work as a team. But all of a sudden, if I just like playing drums and I want to go start playing drums, that's not going to be good for the band. But I like playing drums. But you suck at it, Steve. You can't do it. Why don't you, you know, realize if you want to do it, I'll go start another project playing drums, Steve. But you're not going to play drums in this band because you can't, right? You know. And
no, I think it changes the formula. If you have success, and all of a sudden you're doing it a certain way, and then everybody gets to the point where it's all success, they go, I want a part of the fun part now. That's not how we got here. That's not the formula.
And then I try to give people opportunities to, okay, well, if you want to be involved, put the work in and show me that you can do this or do that. And it kind of just got to the point where I was like, you know what, man, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready to put the band back moving. Then all of a sudden we started getting interest. And then Pony Canyon label in Japan says, hey, we're going to put out an album of your B-sides, Fields of Yesterday. I'm like, well, I got enough B-sides to make a record. Should be happy with. We went to Japan. It was amazing. I'm like, wow, you know. We even did some shows where Lillian and Near Life played together. So I was playing both at the same time, and I was like, this is great. I love it. And the first one we did, we went under the guise of psychoschizophrenia. We just called it. Yes. Near Life Experience playing tonight, opening band, Psychoschizophrenia. 750 people showed up in this little bitty club because the word got out it was Lillian back together. It was amazing. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. But as we did, and I wanted to, all right, I think maybe it's time for us to get back. I wish maybe in retrospect, you know, it's easy to go back. I wish I hadn't done that. But if I was in the same predicament, I probably would have made the same decision. But I wish maybe we hadn't have taken a break. I wish we would have just maybe trudged through the difficulties and not worried about grunge music. Just screw it. Just go be Lillian. Don't worry about it. You'll weather this.
Maybe you just would have been so splintered and broken at that point that if you didn't take a break. So
right. You could have
been so dead at that point. There would have been no. That's it. Just
So I don't second guess myself. I
Yeah,
just
no.
say, hey, maybe I want what would have happened if we hadn't done that. But anyway, we started doing that, and then we started doing some spot shows, and we did some festivals, and we went to Germany, and at the festival in Germany, I think it was Bang Your Head Festival. It was great, fantastic. You can see footage of it on the internet. Ron just said he wasn't going to move on with the band. He didn't want to do it anymore. And I know he and Darren were starting their own project, and I think they wanted to write, and they wanted to go ahead, and I was like, y'all can still do that and still be in Lillian, but for whatever reason, that's what happened. And I was like, look, man, more power to you. Look, I am a true survivor. If everybody just walked away from me tomorrow, I have a backup plan, and because that's what I'm put down here to do. And obstacles are going to occur to everybody in every walk of life. And you just keep on going. And that's what I will always do. I'm fortunate now. I actually feel, and I know I say this a lot, but the way the band is right now is it's just such a good place. It really is. I mean, Brent, our new singer, is just, not only is he just amazing vocalist, but probably one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. And he's become one of my absolute best friends. And he and his wife. And, at the end of the day, when you start looking back, it's like, that's what's important in life. I'm sharing this with friends. I got, 5 or 6 guys I could say are my best friends, and they're all involved with me. And I involve them with everything I do, whether it's ghost hunting or the band or uh, side projects or movie stuff or everything. I get them all involved because I love the guys. And that's what really feels good. I'm happy for Brent because he looks at being in Lillian Axe as like a blessing. Like, thank you so much. And you've made, this is what he told me. And I was like, it stuck with me. He said, you are allowing me to be a part of your legacy that you have built and you have created. And he said, I don't take that lightly at all. And I was like, wow, that's cool, man. Nobody's ever really said that. They've been thankful that, oh, thanks, I'm the new bass player or whatever. But it wasn't like an emotional, spiritual thing to people. That's when you got somebody that's special, that's who I want to play music with. And because also the fact that they're insanely talented helps too. But so as you get older, you look at things a little differently now, and so we're in a really good place. But that's pretty much what happened. We had Derek singing for us for several albums. He did a great job. He was very similar tonality wise to
Wow.
Ron.
He
A
was
lot of people didn't even like know at first,
really.
but he sounded very, that's just the way he sounded.
I
And
don't
I
feel like
kind
it took away. I don't feel like it took away from. I could hear the difference because I think Ron. I do. Ron has a really great voice,
yeah,
and you guys together was a really special little
it really
thing.
was. The funny part about that is I knew that. I knew, and I used to tell him, I said, you know what? You look at some of the great bands of our time, Plant Page, uh, Jagger,
Yep.
Richards, Freddie Mercury, Brian May. They had that core duo, between the guitar player, songwriter,
Yeah, and that's what I
singer.
saw there. I just saw you guys play. I saw on YouTube. I just watching. I think it was a show from '89, and Ron's out there saying, "This is gonna be our next single."
Right.
He had all the dates, the releases of "Show Her the Love," and just you guys were a team. It was
We really were. And I realized that, I really did realize that. And I kept telling him all the time, I said, man, this is a bigger picture than we realize right now. It's tough. We're out beating our heads up. We're trying to get success. And I said, it's almost like when you say, and I heard this on The Office, guy goes, you know what? When do you sit back and realize that the good old days are right now,
yeah,
And that's what I felt like. Quit trying so hard and realize that what you're doing right now are the good times. Like my son, he's 11, and I sit back and I go, man, I sure miss when he was like 3 or 4. I love him so much, man. But when he's 17 or 18, I'm going to be looking back at when he was 11, like right now, going, oh, I wish that. So every day is the good days,
it is. It is. I look back. I think, but man, I have 16 and a 19 and a 21-year-old, and
Really, that's awesome.
goes fast. A grandson, and it
It-
goes so fast. And now I look back, I'm like, you see them. They're like adults now,
yeah.
and you're like, I just want to like hug you and hold you like you're a little person.
Exactly.
And they're like full on got jobs and they're doing this and that. I have a time for you, you know what I mean? It's like it's become that song, you know, Cats in the Cradle. Like
I
it
know. I
like
was just about to say that. It's like
becomes that song. Like, yeah. Except you know, I was there to do stuff with them. But the point is they're like they got stuff to do.
yeah. You just realize that today is the good old days, you know. So, but back at that time, I kept telling him that. I said, man, it's, you know, you and I really have this thing. We did before Poetic Justice came out. They sent us on a 3 to 4 week run. We started in, maybe it was Texas. We went all up and down the coast, through the Midwest, all to the West Coast and back down. Just me and Ron and whatever. This is when they had record reps in different segments of the country. We were in a car together and we went from city to city. We played acoustic shows. We went to the one stops. We went to the manufacturers, went to every radio station, in stores. In 4 weeks, we hit the whole country. And that set up the success of Poetic Justice. Then we went to Europe and did the same thing for like 2.5, 3 weeks. And it was great. And I was like, we were so good together acoustically. Now with Brent, I have that. I have that
Good.
rapport. You listen to he and I, we do every well, we haven't done it in a few weeks. We're doing it Saturday, but we do a thing called the Man Cave Show. We play acoustically in my garage. And we just do like 2 hours of everything. We play Simon and Garfunkel songs, we play Lillian stuff, and we get lots of people that come and listen to it. And we have gotten so good together. It's like it was like that camaraderie I had with Ron at one
Yeah.
time times 10, because Brent is that close of a person friend wise with me too as well. So
Oh, that's good. I'm looking forward to it because I think it shows. I mean, and music wise, musicality wise, I don't think there was it faltered between the albums. Like, 'cause I said, I went and heard at Temple and listened to this albums and between the singers, because I went, oh, you got a new singer. I'm like, that's a bummer because I really like them together. But
right,
I'm a fan of music. I'm not going to stop listening to it because you know
right,
I'm not that guy. You know,
right,
they get broke up different bands. I'm fine. There's two bands now. I like both the bands now.
right,
Twice the music.
right.
It's like a worm. You
Exactly.
break it in half, you get two worms now. Um, so musically, you know, it didn't change. Like, you know, they're good albums.
Right.
It was just like there was a certain energy, like you see guys on stage together. It was just, you know, so this would be interesting to see you with your new guy, the new album, and hopefully out playing when the apocalypse is over. You know.
Oh, look, we did one thing with him. We did a Stage It, which is an online streaming forum. And we did one show in July. And it was like 3 30-minute sets. And you're playing like in a room with no crowd. But it was magic, man. It was great. He's 6'4". He's a big,
Oh wow.
looking guy. And he's got great presence. And he's having fun. And that's what everybody says. Like, he's just, not only is he a great singer, but he is like the kind of guy that you just want to go give him a hug because, man, you're just so cool. You're so nice. He really is that. So, I mean, that's why, you know, we've got all these shows. We had several festivals canceled on us so far this year, a lot of shows. They're trying to pick up. We're coming to Atlanta. I found out today in April. So they're starting to put things in like March, April, so to speak.
Yeah, I've heard the industry word is industry is saying March.
I know. So
That's
we're
why
going
that's what I've been
to,
hearing from other artists.
so, but that's what they're saying. But we're going to, and we're being smart about it. I'm not going to go out there and do just like, you know, any gig I can do right now just to get out and play. I want, when we come out with this, we're going to have new album, new material, and we're going to be strong because we're rehearsing, you know.
I think
And
it's going to be competitive. Everyone thinks it's going to be exciting, which it will be.
yes.
But everybody better first off, everybody do their homework and have a new album.
Oh
And
yeah.
it better be good. Because
I
if you're
wish,
complaining about
man,
being
so many
bored, then
bands, look, there's so many bands I wish. And the only the regret that I have is that I have had to wait so long between albums, because if it was up to me, I would put an album out and start recording the next one immediately. I love writing and I love recording, but financially and in just for life
yeah.
reason, you can't just go do that. You know, you can't just keep on putting them out. But the new album is, I mean, I've had the album art done 2 years ago, you know, so it's done. And the studio, this is the first time we're going to be at Malico Studio in Jackson, Mississippi, with a new engineer that used to be on our crew years ago named Kent Bruce. And he and I have that telepathy that I've only had with like one other person. And it's just, he's got it down. He knows what I want. He knows how to get it, and he's a great guy to work with. So I just I just can't wait to get it done. Um, you know, I hope everybody's gonna love it as much as I'm gonna love what I hear in my head so far.
Well, I think the energy is going to take it up another level. Your excitement, your
Yeah.
feeling. I mean, because your music's always going to be there. You know, you're a good player. It's a given. You know, the albums are always good and solid. But when you have a team behind you, you
Yeah.
have an extra bounce, you have an extra glow. You're like, yeah,
Oh,
this is fun. This isn't just a job. This is fun, man.
exactly.
And
I haven't
I
felt
think
like.
people feel that. The fans feel that. I think it, you know, it puts on a better show. You know,
Mhm.
a better. It's
Well,
better
it's
everything.
kind of cool because you get to a certain point where it's not like we have one or two albums. It's like we have an entire catalog, a long history. So one thing about me is I've always been a little bit, and my wife will even tell you, you seem a little happier now when you're on stage. I'm more relaxed. I've always been the guy that it was like, this is a job. Get
Right.
on stage and just, I'd be so worried about, monitors not working or the amps not working or feedback. I spent so much time wanting everything to be perfect that I wasn't like, sit back and enjoy that as soon as you bust into the first notes of Nobody Knows, everybody's going to start screaming. Enjoy that.
Who cares if
Don't
something else is
worry.
wrong? It's just a guitar. It's just an amp. It's just who cares?
Exactly. I've always been
Rock and
so
roll.
some of the mechanical aspects that I hadn't let the spirituality of what's going on. I haven't been enjoying it. Now I
Yeah.
started to learn to do that after how many years now.
Be part of your own show, man. Enjoy it, and hopefully
Exactly.
your singer will help pull you in to make sure you don't zone
And
out and get back there.
yeah, we weren't really on tonight or whatever. Didn't really feel that good in front of, and then the people like, it's the greatest show I've ever seen in my life. So it's like, maybe Steve, maybe you are the one that's you need to chill out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I mean, so are you going to be streaming anything? Anything else? Any more stuff
Uh,
coming out? Are they
I
going
don't think
to redo it?
more streaming things. No, I think the one we did came out really well, but it was just a lot of hassle. I don't want to stream anything because I really want I want that to not be what people see of us right off the bat, even though it really came out well. But I just want I want the first thing with Brent to be full out live show,
I get
and
that. I just want to see as we talk now what's out there for people. I want people to be aware.
there were a lot
For
of
you
bands.
guys.
There's some places down here that are doing like it's a venue called Rock and Bowl that has streaming all the time. But a lot of time it's the same band streaming like every night because these poor guys are out there just trying to get some tips,
Yep.
get some interest and keep people, you know, into live music. It's a shame what's happening, and that's a whole nother podcast right there. It's
Uh,
talking about that. It's
there's
saddening, you know what I'm saying? But
it's going
um,
to be a monster coming out because like there's going to be competition. There's going
yeah,
to be
I'm
the
looking at right.
finances are different. You guys are going to get charged more because everyone wants to recoup their stuff. So the band's always going to get hit there. There's going to
Yeah.
be probably cleaning charges now
Oh
because
yeah.
of this. Band's going to have to take a hit for that, or there's going to
Yeah.
be something that what I mean. It's going to be coming at you guys no matter what because
Yeah.
everybody feels like they have to get ahead. No one's going to be like, hey, we need to be in the middle because if you hit the bands too hard, bands aren't coming to the clubs.
Oh
No one
yeah.
comes to your club's closing anyhow. So you
Yeah.
guys really need to kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah. And I have a side project called Sledgehammer. I've been doing it for 6 years. It's me and Michael Max from Lillian. Brent is the singer. So it's almost like
Almost doesn't feel like a side project.
it's like 3/5 of Lillian doing, but we do everything from Iron Man.
It's like a turn, not even a side. It's like a turn project.
No, it's like and then Danny King, the original Lillian drummer, is playing drums. So he was on Love and War in the first album. So it's like 4/5, and then another guitar player that is filled in for Lillian a few times. But we do it's so much fun because we do like everything: Alice Cooper and Iron Maiden, and Ozzy and Sabbath, and Aerosmith and the Cult and Stone Temple Pilots and Collective Soul, and we play that. And we did our first gig since the pandemic a month ago,
Yeah.
and they took it away at the door. We're playing there again this Friday night, so it's like it's exciting to just be able to even go do the cover thing.
Club. That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
well,
so I'm looking to it.
So the last, actually, so we got the music. What about the last thing here? I would say if they're the best for last because it's not best, but different. You're paranormal.
Yes,
This
Been
is
doing it
interesting. Different,
60 years.
interesting.
Yeah, I have a ghost hunting team, for lack of a better term. It's called the Veil, and it started off where a local production company. I met one of the two owners at my niece's birthday party, and they go, "Hey man, I was reading one of your interviews lately. I understand you're into the paranormal and stuff." I said, "Yeah, absolutely. We got an idea for a reality show: rock guitar player, ghost hunter, like this and that."
A couple of years ago, right? You guys have been doing this for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, but
Okay,
this
yeah,
is when
yeah, yeah.
before I even started doing that. This is like 6, 7 years ago.
Okay.
And yeah, let's talk. And so we did, and we kind of put together a team that I was the host, and we put together a team that I called the Veil that morphed into more than that. But we have my team is consists of 7 people right now. I'm the host of the show and the lead investigator. I've got my number 2 guy has been ghost hunting for 30 something years. He's one of the consultants at the Myrtles Plantation, which is one of the most haunted places in the country and most haunted in Louisiana. I have a lady named Deborah LeBlanc. She's a call a clairsentient. She's a clairvoyant, sensitive medium. She's an author as well, but she's amazing. Um, Fred Poole from PV Electronics is like the audio video guy. My brother and my stage manager for Lillian are the techs that set all the gear up. And we just added a guy named Mark Lanou, who's an ex NASA scientist, to the team. So we have been promised shows for the last 4 years from Destination America, Travel Channel, through different production companies and individuals. Mark Cuban from Access TV. Mm-hmm. They brought one of the producers there, brought the show to Mark Cuban, said, "This is my number 1 show. I love this show. I'm gonna do it." And Mark Cuban wouldn't even look at it. No paranormal or cooking shows on Access TV. Okay, great. All right. Okay. We had contract, a letter of intent, I should say, from Destination America, and that fell apart. Ghost Hunters, Jason Hawes, the main guy, the bald-headed guy from Ghost Hunters.
Yeah, I used to watch it as
Yeah, we talked to him several times. He said he loved the show. He wanted to take it to his people in New York and be a producer on it, and disappeared. And we never heard from him after 3 or 4 conversations. I'm like, what is going on with everybody? Is everybody in the entertainment business
becoming ghosts?
Are they nuts? Yeah, they're So anyway, so we've been doing ghost hunting, and our show was going to be called Ghost. First of all, it was going to be Through the Veil because our team's called the Veil. But then we changed it to Ghosts and Guitars because we're utilizing music,
right,
at Trigger. We've decided that we're going to do a documentary, and that documentary will start filming in January. So Todd Schmidt, who is my co-host of my podcast, he's an amazing editor, cinematographer, cameraman, videographer. I mean, he's fantastic. He is going to film and edit. He and I are writing it together, but we have a couple of locations that we're waiting to get in that are Civil War related. And if we get into them, it's going to be like dangerous investigation, but something nobody's ever done before. It's going to be like going to in the Indiana Jones location. That's how, with snakes and crocodiles and everything.
Really?
It's going to be great. So we start filming that documentary in January as well. And we're going to, it's going to take some time to do it and do it right. But
how often do you do it? Do you guys do it?
What's that?
How often are you guys going out and doing them? Like,
we were doing like an investigation every month for a little while. It's been a little while because of the COVID thing,
Well, yeah.
The ghosts won't come out if we don't have masks on.
So what kind of crazy stuff? Because I did see you guys had some good stuff though. You guys had some good evidence though, right?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I've had several, like what we call Class A EVPs, which EVPs are the electronic voice phenomena that you pick up on digital recordings that aren't there with your naked eye, and you pick them up. And those are the things that really got me into ghost hunting. when I first started listening to them and I would hear examples of voices from elsewhere,
Mhm.
it triggered something in me that was like not only scared the hell out of me, but amazed me into wanting to ghost hunt. And then I'm out there capturing these things and being in rooms with spirits and hearing things and watching things and seeing movements and communicating. And it's just it's amazing. It's gotten to the point though, unfortunately, that sometimes I like take it for granted, you know, like we'll go to a location and
Yeah.
I'll get all these comments and voices that aren't there and kids crying and music playing and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, check this one out. This is great. And I'm like, wait a minute. 10 years ago, you would have been like, you wouldn't have been able to sleep for a week if you captured one of these. Now you're like, it's
I almost think
passe.
the kid stuff is usually when you see it's usually the creepiest for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, it is. Because
And
you
it
think a child's, why is it
right.
a child spirit? You know, like there's a place that we went to, the Woodlands Plantation in Louisiana, and an 8-year-old boy, like 100 or more years ago, uh, he died. And his mother, out of grief, drank carbolic acid like a month after and killed herself. We got um, an EVP of a little boy saying, "Be nice to mom. Be nice to mom." And you can hear it
Oh,
clear. There were no kids anywhere near. I was in a room at night. Now, you're talking about like 2 in the morning upstairs in a haunted plantation. And I'm sitting in there, pitch black, and I only have a cameraman sitting over there. And I'm like,
ugh.
look, if you're the little boy, you know, who passed away here, I really feel bad for you. You got robbed out of your childhood. Are you okay? I said, I've got a little ball here. If you want to come play with me, move the ball and just come say hi to me. And the little voice says, thanks. Just like that. I mean, it's like, and you know, and it sounds like, okay, well, it's just, yeah, it's way more than just a little kid's voice saying it. The kids come, where's that boy? What dimension is he from? What is he experiencing right now? What is he thinking looking at me sitting in a dark room wanting to meet him? What is he going through? How did he die? What did he go through? You know, and all these things, it becomes like this immense question that's not just about, you know, it's a ghost. You know, I don't even like to use the term ghost.
Well,
People,
for argument's sake,
right,
so you're in that zone, right? You're the ghost kid, right?
right,
Your mindset might not be the same. Like, like we always project things on people. Will be like, man, it must suck to be a dog because a dog's not thinking like, man, it sucks to be me because a dog doesn't think
right,
like we do. So, argument's sake, if you're in a different dimension or your energy or your whatever, they might
right.
not be. I mean, they might be stuck or trapped or something, or they might be remembering or trapped in some kind of repetitive nature. I forgot what it's called. Um, it might not be the same pain. It might just be an echo, or it might be, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You don't really don't know, but I'm saying, but it might not also be end of the world every day for them, like a small, like your child in the dark alone.
Exactly right. We don't, that's the thing. We have no reference point. We don't know what they're actually going through. So that's why, you know, you hear people go, I mean, I've had people tell me, Steve, you're a Christian man, but those are evil spirits. I'm like, no, they're not. How do you know that? And anybody that tries, you see these talking heads on these shows are like, well, what ghosts are trying to do is this or that. They're trying to reach out. You know, I'm like, you know what? We don't have a clue what's going on with them. All we know is we're making some kind of communication, some kind of relationship, whether it's just residual energy that's sitting in there. A
Mhm.
lot of times, I don't think it is because there's an intelligent comment coming back. You know, like
Well,
you'll ask,
yeah, it's weird, arguable stuff. Some of it's not, and some of it is. Then that makes you
right?
think: is there different levels of it? That's the point.
Exactly, and that's the thing. All we can go by is that we have evidence. All I can tell you is that little kid said that when I asked that. I don't know what he's going through. He might just be happy as a lark. He
Makes you
might be.
maybe
I
makes you
don't
think,
know.
makes you think a joke. The way I said nothing is more adorable than hearing a little kids running through the hallway, unless you don't
Right.
have kids.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, at night running through the hallway, you're like, unless you don't have kids.
Exactly. But you know,
Ghost
when
boy.
when I would get those anything with children, because a lot of places, you know, that's one of the manifestations is they see kids and stuff. Um, and I look at it, it makes me sad, you know, when I think about it, because I look at it through my eyes of a little kid that's like that,
But
you know, but I don't know. He might that entity that I like to, I think they're souls. I just think it's the soul. Now, the soul may be way more complicated and we even realize how many, what an actual soul is.
I don't think
But
we can understand anything. Yeah.
it's the way that we can compartmentalize things, and the way we can say the soul is the essence of the person. Now, what is the soul? How complicated is it? How deep is it? What are the layers of it? What does it do? What kind of communication can it have? We don't know. And none of us are going to know until we make that next step. So all we can do is, like I say, we find the evidence, we present it, we'll give you a hypothesis all day long of what we think it is. But think about this, just beautiful that we can do that.
Yeah.
So it's a
And
lot of fun, man. It's opened my eyes a lot.
what about arguably, devil's advocate here,
Right.
the fear, and people say getting something caught, stuck to you, coming home with you,
Well, that happened to me actually one time.
because that is
Uh,
the concern.
it was
Especially, it is, if you do it all the time, that is a real thing. If you're
right. Well, we pray before and after. We pray for God's protection, and we basically, the thought is that if the power of your words, you tell an entity, why we're here, and you're not allowed to come in. There is something to be said for inviting something in. That's why Ouija boards are frowned upon.
right.
But um, you know, one time we did a location, and Deborah, our clairvoyant, our medium, at the last second she couldn't make it. She had an emergency, and she lived like 3.5 hours from the location. So she called to tell us that she couldn't make it. So things weren't going well. The cameras were dying on us. The cameramen, who are normally really nice guys, were
Mhm.
being very irritable. It was just something, not the vibe of the whole shoot, the whole day into the night. It was not, just wasn't, something wasn't right. Right. So um, we forgot to pray at the end to let spirits know you're not allowed to come home with us. And we forgot to do our prayer. And then, so the next day, was it? I get a text from Deborah, and it's like, something followed you home last night. You need to cleanse your house. I'm like, what? So no, it was late the next night, like at 11:30 at night. So I go to call her back up, and she's not answering the phone. So I'm telling my wife about it, who already is,
Freaking out.
she's reticent about making sure that we say our prayers and all. You don't want anything following you. And so we forgot. And then Deborah doesn't answer the phone. So all night long, I'm like, just a little on
How did she
edge.
know? How did she know? How did she figure that out?
I She felt it from wherever she was. So the next morning, first thing, like 8 o'clock in the morning, I called Deborah. What are you doing? Don't ever do that again. If you're gonna, if something like that's
Yeah.
happened, you better be there to talk to me about it. So she said that she picked up that an elderly woman who was unhappy, that lived in that plantation, followed me home because of my wife's disposition and the kindness of my wife. She was attaching herself to
Mhm.
my wife through me. And it's like, okay, I don't quite understand this, Deborah, but what do I need to do? And my wife was like, you have been kind of a little different, and I'm like, what? I didn't. So I'm like, okay. So anyway, we had to cleanse the house, uh, sage it, pray, certain prayers, and just do what we spiritually needed to do to clean. And it was like a weight got lifted off of, the house. Now, I don't know if that was just us feeling good about what we did.
Like a
I
placebo.
didn't
I don't know. I think not all of them. I think there's different entities out there. I
Yeah,
don't. I think some you're not gonna. You can pray, but they're not gonna believe in God. It's not gonna
right.
make a difference. I think it. Not everyone plays by the rules and can say, "Oh, you're right. I got to stop," because that's how I was.
Exactly.
I think if you are going to be that, who they were before reflects upon how they think upon what you're doing. If they weren't a part of that, you know,
Right.
they're gonna be like, "It didn't bother me
Yeah.
before on Earth. Not gonna stop now."
Well, that's the thing. I think that, if you were a jerk as a person, you're probably going to be a jerk as a soul,
Right.
unless something happened to change you. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. It's like, when people would say, uh, like, when people, well, maybe when this guy gets rich and famous, he'll be nice. So, he's just going to, he's the same asshole, but he's just rich now, if you're
Literally, yeah.
a good person. I think, that's the thing. We don't understand what happens when we pass. What does our soul go through? Where we go, what do we have to do? Are we allowed to go back? Can we go back? Do we have any control over what we do? We don't know any of these things.
We're
So
space dust. We are just a bag of space dust,
yeah,
man.
we're a what do they say? We're a spirit in a physical
Yep.
body. I mean, that's
Yep.
our essence. Is our soul, or our, whatever you want to call it. We call it the soul. That's what we are. We're in a physical body. This is just
Your
a place
flesh suit.
to live
Yeah.
for a while. So it's amazing. It makes you think a lot. It makes you really realize how much we don't know about anything. You know, but yeah, but just the fact that we can experience things that we can't explain, and nobody can explain them, and I never try to. I'll tell you the facts. I'll tell you what I think. And but as far as like when I hear these ghost hunters go, well, that ghost was trying to do this. How do you know that he was trying to do that? Just show us what you're picking up.
I think there's a lot out there, and I think it gives a lot of question for a lot of things,
Absolutely.
and it just makes you think more. I think it almost brings up more questions.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I always say I'm smart enough to know that I'm not smart enough to know, and none of us are.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep moving, man. Keep
That is
growing,
awesome.
keep getting better at what we do, and try to be better people every day and learn as much as we can.
That's awesome. That's good words to end on. Hopefully, I want to thank you for being on the show, and hopefully, we'll catch up next year when you're doing some live gigs or something. Touch up, promote you. What are you doing? Your album comes
Well,
out.
it was a pleasure. You really enjoyed talking to you, and don't make it
Thanks.
next year. You
Well,
got
you
my
know what I'm
number.
saying. I know.
You
You
got
know what I'm saying, dude. It's like December. Next year's like
yeah,
3 weeks.
that's it. Right?
My kids got to open some gifts, and then it's like next year. Come on,
Yeah, well, we'll probably
getting
have
kind of clingy here.
a lot of things are going to probably start happening in the new year. So
March, right? March.
Yes, exactly. So
All the
but
frontline workers and musicians are going to get shots.
yeah, right. For the last ones are going to try to get rid of us all. But
Yeah,
yeah, stay in touch with me, man. Let me know how
absolutely.
anything. I'll keep you posted on what's happening. Anything I can do for you, let me know.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, once you're on the show, you're a friend of the show, and we're just going to keep promoting, having people
Awesome.
back. I want to have some, actually going to do next year. I'm going to do some panels,
Oh, cool.
and there's like tons of different things. And I want to talk about some of the things in the music industry, how you guys were screwed, or, how
Right.
this happening, or, other topics of, coming into I was just talking to a band from England, how hard it is for the European bands to tour over here, the
Right.
cost that they have to pay for visas, and so just touring things. And I think I like to talk about like how women have gone through music, and just so many different topics that haven't been represented and fair.
Yep.
And I think it'd be great to talk about and get a couple of different people, a couple of different musicians, because I do different musicians and different styles. I'm not locked in.
Right.
Very open-minded, and
Yeah.
I'll give you a call. I'll
I'd
let you know, man.
be honored to do it, man.
All right, brother. I thank you, and everything.
Mm.
I will have all the links underneath all your stuff. All right, we'll post
Okay.
everything on the page, and that's it. So
Okay.
thank you.
My
Thanks for being on the
pleasure.
show. All right,
Take
have a good
care.
day. Okay,
Bye,
bye.
everybody.